Have you ever watched an interview where you can physically feel the person trying to dodge every single question asked? That is exactly what happened on an ABC sit-down with Kamala Harris. And honestly, it wasn't even subtle. The reporter actually tried to get straightforward answers. But Kamala was doing what Kamala always does, talking in circles, piling words upon words, and trying to sound inspirational while saying absolutely nothing at the same time. Welcome back, and if you're new, this is going to be a good one, so make sure you like, comment, and consider subscribing for daily news updates. It means the world to me, and don't forget to share. She starts by speaking about the importance of speaking about something important, and before you know it, she's talked for 2 minutes without even touching on the actual question. And the answer is always the same. Nothing concrete, just vibes, speeches, and emotional slogans. And that's when you realize Kamala doesn't run on solutions. She runs on fear. Fear of Donald Trump, fear of all of the extremists, and fear of losing the narrative. Because if she actually had to sit down and explain what she plans to do with the border, about crime, about energy prices, about foreign policy failures, it would be painfully obvious to see that she doesn't have a plan at all. Let's start with Kamala completely dodging a question, asking her if she's ever faced something impossible during her run for presidency.
Biden, then, to put it on him, wasn't his refusal to recognize his own frailties the reason that you faced a nearly impossible task?
I ran against Donald Trump for president, and Donald Trump ran on a platform that was, in large part, I believe, misrepresenting his intentions to the American people. I do believe that there are a fair number of people that voted for Donald Trump who believed him when he told them that his first priority on day one is going to be to bring down prices. And he didn't. And you combine that misrepresentation of intention with also what was at play in terms of massive amounts of mis and disinformation.
Now, forgive me.
And a truncated calendar in terms of the clock.
I want to interrupt you because that is a world-class pivot, but it is not the question that I asked you, which is about Joe Biden's failure to recognize his own frailties and what that did to you. The question is about Joe Biden. Are you still reluctant to criticize the former president?
In what regard, please?
Well, just in terms of that question. So you went on.
What exactly would you like to ask? Be more specific, if you don't mind.
Was it Joe Biden's decision, his failure to recognize his own frailties in that position, that put you in the position that made it almost impossible to win that race?
He was not frail as president of the United States.
But he had frailties. We all saw the debate.
I do believe that Joe Biden had the capacity to be president of the United States, and I have never doubted that he had the capacity to be president of the United States. If you want to talk about whether he had...
There are about 4 points that really stick out to me. The first being that Kamala, she didn't answer the question. She totally took a left turn and refused to answer. She went on to talk about things she wanted to say. The next thing she mentioned that really kind of stuck out to me was the fact that she was trying to downplay the things that the whole America's seen happen in the debate with Biden. We can see that he wasn't all the way there. From him stuttering, from him having a lot of pauses, a lot of his sentences did not make sense. It was basically a total wreck. She's trying to make it seem like it wasn't that big of a deal and that had nothing to do with making things harder for her, which we all know is a lie. Another that stuck out to me was the fact that when she was asked the question, what did she do? She immediately went to bashing Trump. Trump was nowhere in that question. There was no reason to bring him up. Yes, you were running against him, but you had no reason to bring him up of him affecting your task of running your presidency well. The only people you can put that on is yourself, your presidency team, Democrats, and the party you come from. That had nothing to do with Trump. You are battling him. It's supposed to be hard. It's not supposed to be an easy thing to become a president. All in all, it seems like she had a lot of areas where she could have took accountability. Even accountability for admitting that she did pivot the question and that she did go off topic, as well as the accountability that, yes, you can give a true answer to say that Biden's performance, it did affect your presidency run. It seems like she wants to keep this picture perfect look of herself where she's higher than everyone and there's no space for mistakes or failures. I want to look at the reporter herself, make a video after the interview, explaining why it ended
Book
abruptly.
and the purpose of the book. So
This is the last question. We're at time. You gotta go. Sorry.
yeah. Well, that's almost a first, not an absolute first, but to have a member of staff of the former Vice President of the United States actually speak up during the interview to say that we were going too long. I didn't expect that. But coming back to the interview itself, it seems to me at its very heart, there is a reluctance on the part of Kamala Harris to actually spell out and talk about the issues that Joe Biden had as president. Was it Joe Biden's decision, his failure to recognize his own frailties in that position that put you in the position that made it almost impossible to win that race?
He was not frail as president of the United States.
But he had frailties. We all saw the debate. I'm just wondering, is there a reason why you won't go to that prolonged frailty question? Now, we saw the debate. We saw the difficulty he had marshalling his thoughts.
I have answered that question. I do not believe that
I think it's just hard watching the debate to see how there could not be a problem long term with someone who can't marshal their thoughts. I'm not saying his acuity wasn't present.
I talked about that in the book.
It's in the book, but it seems to me she doesn't want to say it on camera. I asked her that. She denied it, but I think there is still a reluctance there to criticize Joe Biden, which makes her current pivot a really difficult one because she's Joe Biden's vice president. It seems she's still not prepared to completely condemn him, but she's got to be a character in her own right without Joe Biden attached in order to have a chance to run again. So that, before I came in, that was the heart of the interview, and it turned out to be the heart of the interview with a little extra from her stuff.
From that video of the reporter telling her side, I can completely agree with her. To me, it seemed that, yes, Kamala said she answered these questions in her book, but there was a big reluctance to actually say the words out loud publicly. It was like she couldn't bring herself to do it, or that she's fearful of something and she doesn't want to completely condemn her president. She is still Biden's vice president at the end of the day. So maybe she doesn't want him to look bad, even though she knows it's bad. The reporter also made a very good point that you have to separate yourself to make your own character, to stand out, especially if Kamala wants to run again for president. She can't do that if she still is like the puppy dog to Biden. She has to branch out and show why she needs to be it. Not because she's his vice president, because she's her own president. Another part that I didn't expect was that her staff would interrupt the interview. ABC is a big network and it's respected. People want to see what's happening. To say they're going too long, they blocked out her time. They know exactly how much time they need, and she didn't answer any of the questions, so she wasted a big part of the reporter's time. But then to cut it off, it seems like they were trying to save Kamala. Like she didn't know what to do and she needed to be saved. If you're going to be our future president, you need to be able to save yourself. And how? Be honest. And just to throw it in for you guys, okay, she has a book. But can you talk, lady? We want to hear the words from your mouth. We don't want to have to read them to get the whole picture. Talking seems more genuine. We actually know you mean what you're saying. You can hide behind the words on a page. Now, I want to look at this clip of Kamala being asked if Biden should have ran a second term. And she goes on to make excuses that she would have needed more time to win. Watch this.
Well, healthcare for working people.
Then how consequential was it for America, for American democracy, that President Biden made the decision to run for a second term?
I think that there was an impact. I write in the book in many different ways. We needed more time. And had we more time, perhaps the outcome would have been different. And that is a fact. I think it's an undeniable fact.
You say in the book that it was reckless for you not to intervene on that decision to run again, given the stakes. How could you leave the decision to Joe Biden and Joe Biden?
As I write, and this book really is about it's candid. I offer a lot of candor around what I did and what I believe I could have done and should have done differently, and what was at play overall. And so as I write, I reflect on not talking him out of running.
I do understand her when she does say that she needed more time. That's the whole point of the run and the race. Both parties have adequate and equal time to run. And she was at a disadvantage because at first Biden was running and then she took over. So I do feel like that is a fair statement coming from Kamala. The next thing I want to point out, though, is that she didn't speak up. She's saying in her book that she knew she should have done things differently, but she doesn't know if she was having grace or if she was being reckless. She could have talked to Biden and made the decision that, yes, you did your 4 years, but we can't do this again. It's not going to work. We know your health. We know what's going on. You are getting older in age, and sometimes that does matter. It does impact to a certain extent, and she should have had it from the start. It makes me wonder why she didn't take that opportunity if she really wanted to be president. And another thing that pointed out to me was the fact that she keeps going back to her book. I don't know if she wants just book sales and money or if she wants to be president. Which one does she want more? Yes, you put everything in your book, and she even says that her book is very candid, meaning she's saying it's super honest. But hearing honesty out loud versus reading it, it makes a big difference. You should be able to share your truth on paper and in person. And if you want to be a president, you're speaking to all of America. All of America isn't going to go buy your book, but all of America will listen to you talk. So take the opportunity that helps you have the advantage more. Use your voice. That's what you are as a president. Use your voice and stick on it. And now you have the entire interview frustrated because you don't want to answer any questions. Why did you even accept the interview then? If you knew you were going to come on and say, hey guys, refer to my book. Pointless and a waste of American people's time and ABC's. Lastly, I want to take a look at this hard to watch interview with Kamala and Jon Stewart, where she does the exact same thing. He was in disbelief after hearing that Biden is a sustainable president.
He was fully competent to serve.
Do you really?
Yeah, I do.
That surprises me, actually.
No, I do. There's a distinction to be made between running for president and being president.
What's the distinction?
Well, being a candidate for president of the United States is about being in a marathon at a sprinter's pace, having tomatoes thrown at you every step you take.
That sounds lovely.
Yeah, it's more than a notion.
Get involved in public service, ladies and gentlemen.
And to be the seated president, the sitting president, while doing that, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah. I think it's a hard case to make for people that he didn't have the stamina to run, but he had the stamina to govern. Because I think most people view the presidency as a marathon run at a sprint with tomatoes being thrown at you.
In that clip, Kamala tells Stewart that she does believe that Biden was very confident to stand as president and to run for the candidacy of president again. Stewart responds back to her saying that actually does surprise him. And Kamala says that there is a distinction between running for president and being the president. In my personal opinion, you need both. Both of them are a marathon that you have to sprint through and get booed on and tomatoes thrown on you the entire time. There are going to be times when people don't like you and people do like you through your candidacy run and when you're president. It's not going to end if you win or not. And yes, to say he was competent enough to govern but not run, we need everything there if you're going to be our president. You need to be able to do both, not just one. It's okay to not be president again if you're not in the capacity to do it with full force. And that right there, it seems that it's extremely hard for Kamala to admit, but it's nothing wrong with that. She should be able to say that. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time on KW Lawaholic.